and I wanted to get to the point where you rescued the LST, or you were rescued, one of the other, I don't know.
Well, some guys wanted an LST back. We'd give them all away. This is 35 years later. Actually, in 1990, I went to Taiwan, looked at LSTs, and I wouldn't run. 95, the guy down in Pontiac, who was from Seneca, he found one in Greece. And I'd been talking about it for 10 years. Meantime, I had a bypass, quad bypass in 95. So we kind of give that up. But anyway, finally, through the red tape, it took 4 years to get it through Congress and give them the ship. And the guys went over there in July, and about 7 of them, and then 20 more, and they were having all kinds of trouble with the guy that was in charge at that point. And they kept saying, you got to get over here, you got to get over here. And I said, I don't know if I can, because it's now close to the 1st September, and I'm going to count my beans and go. Anyway, I told the wife, I said, I'm going to go over. And if it doesn't run, I'll be home in 4 weeks, and if it runs, I'll be home in 6. There's a guy out there that was in charge was telling me it was 80% ready to sail, and you bring the rest of the guys, which it was 72 signed up, but he had 20 and 7 of those guys, 27, and then I was only managed to get 24 to go with me. And when I got over there was only 13 of the 27 left, because they all left. So I got there and I talked to him about letting me handle the crew in the Navy and the Greeks State Department. And he should go down and get the main engines. Been there 6 weeks and the main engines hadn't been started, or the generators, they didn't have batteries to even start them, or oil, or diesel fuel to start them with. He actually had done nothing. He thought he'd make the Greeks feel sorry for him, and they would come and help him. Well, that wasn't going to work. No foreigner ever feels sorry for an American.
Yeah.
So anyway, but he says, I told him we're going to change gears. I said, you got to start being nice to the Greeks. We need them to help us get this ship going. I said, we can try it. Well, that lasted about a day. And he come back demanding me to do something. And he said if I didn't do it, he would leave the ship in 5 days. I told him, I'm sorry, Jack, but I'm not going to do it. So everybody was pretty happy because in 5 days he left the ship. And I went over and got with the Greeks, and I had some wooden pencils I gave away, and started being nice. And I told the guys to say hi to every Greek they see, no matter where he's at, crosses away from you, or the other side of the street, and yell over and say good morning, good afternoon. So we worked on that, and those guys, in spite of everything, the odds were 7 to 1, we wasn't going to get the ship running when it went over. And I didn't help it evidently, because it grew to 27 to 1, we wouldn't get the ship going. But those guys just got up and worked harder every time the odds went up downtown. And in spite of all the things that went wrong, pretty soon that old girl was running. And we took it out for a sea trial. 5 hours, brought it back. Went into the headquarters, said, what I got to do to get the paperwork to leave? And the guy said, we've never done this before, and I don't know. So don't you want to take it out again? And I said, no, I don't want to wear it out.
How many miles is it from Greece to,
About 60,
where you go, San Diego?
No, we went to Mobile, Alabama.
Mobile.
About 6,300 miles.
6,300 miles, okay.
And in the meantime, we lost some more guys, and then we gained some guys, and ended up with 30 going out of Suda Bay. And BP Oil gave us 50,000 gallons of diesel fuel, which is a lot of diesel fuel.
Yeah, that was good of them.
And they made that decision in 1 week. And so we sailed over to Athens and got our oil and sailed out of there. And at Sicily, we ran into a big storm, which actually this ship was at Sicily on July 10th, 1943. And it was in a big storm. So it was kind of ironic. Now we're in another big storm right at Sicily. got through the storm, but we lost the starboard engine. As we proceeded on to the med, we lost 2 generators out of 3. Eventually we lost the steering, we lost the gyro, and we sort of limped into Gibraltar, and we couldn't get registered, so actually we were coming back unregistered, which was a pirate ship. And a pirate ship doesn't have a country, and if you don't have a country, you don't have laws. And if you don't have any laws, you can't break any. That's what the Marine attorney told me. We got in Gibraltar let us in. The other thing is you can't go into any port in the world unless you're a registered ship in some country.
Mm-hmm.
But England never hung up the phone. They said, you got 18 World War II guys on there, and they're welcome in any English port in the world. And they can come by a submarine, a parachute, or the old LST. They didn't care.
They're the only ones that help you then.
Well, I don't know, but that's the one. Spain turned us down when they went to Spain. They turned us down. Got in there, and 12 days later, and another 20,000 gallons of BP oil. We left, and one of the things in there that everybody likes is they had an article in the paper about when Navy ships come into Gibraltar, they tell the mothers to lock up their daughters. He said, the age of these guys, we're going to tell the daughters to lock up their mothers. So we went out of there, went across the Atlantic, and we lost a piston in one of the engines, but we ran it on 11. They were V12s, General Motors 12567 engines, 2-cycle, 900 horse each. And my chief engineer wanted to shut it off. And I said, I want to get home sometime in this century. And so I said, no, I said, I read that book, and it says you can run them on 11 cylinders. He says, yeah, but down there it says don't run it any farther than you have to. And I said, I'm not, Jim. I'm going to run it to Mobile and shut it off. He said, it'll never make it. Well, it did. We had a hole in the bottom developed. We run out of lube oil in the Bahamas, had to go into Nassau. I got another 500 gallons of lube oil. Left there and lost the starboard outside of the Dry Tortugas there, past Key West. I told the girl in Mobile, because she was going to have a welcoming party, and she needed to know what time and what day we were going to be there, what day in particular. And we figured out, and I added 3 days to what I figured. It was the 10th of January 2001. And of course, then she wanted the time we'd be there. So how about 10:30 in the morning?
This century.
She said, that'd be great, and hung up. And so we were pushing it to get in there on the 10th of January, and we lost that starboard engine. I had about 14, 15 hours to the good at that point. And then we slowed up, had a wind on the bow, and slowed up to about 5 miles an hour, somewhere in that. Lost all that time, was down to an hour, and I told him I was going to go down and start the main engine. I said, the word got down to the engine room that I was going to come down. The captain's coming down, he's going to show you guys how to run this thing. Well, they got the book out and read what they do to start a 12567. Number 1, check the overspeed trip. And that's that safety switch. If it revs up too high, it shuts the fuel off to the engine, kills it. They hadn't checked it. It wouldn't start. But this guy read the book and he says, I wonder. Went over and it snapped in and he pushed the starter and the starboard started. So we ground our way into Mobile and got in there about 2 o'clock at the sea buoy and got the Coast Guard aboard and the immigration and customs and the agricultural department and who else am I missing? Somebody else. Coast Guard was going to arrest me, they thought. And they come aboard as Lieutenant Sutton. He came up and said, I'm Lieutenant Sutton with the U.S. Coast Guard, and I got my orders. And I said, and what are they, sir? he said, my orders are to leave you alone. So, we proceeded into Mobile to the greatest welcome that anybody could ever get.
This made national headlines. They were keeping
Yeah, we
track of your every movement.
ran Tom Brokaw, he really put us in the limelight. And newspapers all over the country. I've got clippings from Syracuse, New York, Los Angeles, California, of course Rockford, Ottawa, Mobile, just about everybody. ABC had us on their .com. So once we got the publicity, and that happened in Gibraltar, that's when the Coast Guard and the State Department got out of our way.
Mhm.
Anyway, we had to slow up. It was an hour ahead of time. I slowed up and we went by that girl at the convention center at 10:30 on Wednesday morning. And gentlemen, that's my story on that part of it. And I'm sticking to it. That's a very brief story. Since then, we've recommissioned, we really put the ship back together. It's practically new. We spent over $2 million of actual dollars in shipyards. Been in there 3 times.
Donations?
Well, donations, and we make money. But we've also had $1 million probably in donations and just work that's been donated.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone out to, first time we got it going in 2003. And we went to 9 cities on the Mississippi and Ohio.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
72 days, we made $80,000. We had about 80,000 people come aboard in those places. That put us in the green because we were really never had any money. Then we went up that fall after I got back. I got encephalitis. Spent 10 days in the University of Iowa Hospital, and they told Lois I was going to be a vegetable probably.
Long nap.
One of the questions was that they wanted me to do is count backwards by 7 from 100. That's not so hard to do when you figure it out, because you subtract 10 and add 3 all the way down the line. But when I was doing that for them, they decided maybe I wasn't going to be a vegetable. I think I've had some loss, pretty minor, and maybe it's just old age. Then in 2004, I got run over by the XT-190, which was just a really...
That was a tractor.
Just a dumb...
I just heard about that. I didn't know that.
I'm probably the only guy around that's got run over by a tractor still around to talk about it.
Yeah.
It ran all the way over me, caught my left leg, because I was trying to get back in it to get up and stop it. And it caught my back left leg, and it was come up with my right. And when the wheel got a hold of my left foot, I couldn't get away. And basically just run up my leg and come right across my shoulder right here.
Mm.
So I was about 14 days in a coma, induced mostly. But then only 7 days when I got out of the coma and I was home. So I come out of that pretty good. And
How long did it take you to recover from that totally?
Well, it took a while just to walk, because it's surprising to me how weak you get when you are in a coma laying in bed for 14 days.
Right.
I mean, I had these gals tell me I had to walk the hall to get in the room, out of intensive care. I said, get me out of here, I'll show you I can walk. They got me out, and each of them got under an arm, and I said, I don't need you to. I took 3 steps, the sweat was coming off of me, and I was getting weak and faint. And I says, girls, put me back in bed, because I'm going down. And they kind of grabbed me, put me over in a chair for a little bit. But then pretty soon I was up and ready to go again, and that's about, maybe got 4 steps, so it was kind of how it went. It put me back in bed for a while then,
Boy.
yeah, it's not the thing to do, I don't recommend it.
Well, we don't want to cut you off here on the tape.
Well, that pretty much brings you up to date.
Yeah.
The ship was very successful. We had 40,000 people come aboard this last September in just 2 towns, Decatur, Alabama, and Chattanooga, Tennessee.
When's your next engagement with the ship?
Well, it won't be till next year, and they're gonna go back up the Ohio to Pittsburgh with it.
Okay, wow.
I am retired. I'm got a change of command ceremony Saturday, this coming Saturday.
Oh, that's what you're busy with.
And I'm off the board by 3 years. I was president of 2008, and then I gave up the presidency, but I stayed out as a director and captain. And then I'm off as a director. We're gonna get our lives back, we hope. But the ship has $1 million now to the good,
Oh, that's great.
and it's like new. So, and I got a pretty good board, I think. And
So Mobile, Alabama's its home now?
yes, we'll be there 10 years in 2015. They built a pretty near a $3 million dock for it. It's not in the best location, but everything else is perfect. We don't pay docking fees. We paid $160 a day down in Mobile. That hurts. So the docking's free, electricity's free, and that was $2,000 a month. It's gone up to about $3,000 now with the higher $10 electric.
Mm-hmm.
Every bill's paying it. But we bring 15,000 people into Evansville every year, and it should bring more. We're working on that.
Well, Bob, this has been really interesting, and I've learned a lot there. It was everything I'd hoped for. So I'm glad you could come to the Historical Society tonight, and you'll probably think of a lot more stories after you go home.